This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Okay, calling to order the meeting of the Public Safety Building Committee. It is currently October 21st at 4:33 p.m. That being said, any open time for the public? It's the first on the agenda. Doesn't appear anybody from the public's here. Review of the minutes from September 23rd. Has everybody got an opportunity to review those?
Well, there's a couple extra copies floating around. Do you want to read this one, Chris? That one. I'll read it again.
I read it once, but...
Everybody? Okay.
The only comment I've got, it has me as being absent, but I got here late.
Oh,
But
I'll fix that.
All
You're
right.
right.
So Barry came in a little later.
Yeah, okay. I apologize because I did that ahead of you. I'll keep this copy for me.
Sure.
And then take this one back. I'll go back.
I'll just wait a little bit until everyone's ready to vote on it. Just give you the indication that you are.
I'm good.
Everybody else is good?
Hi. Did you see the minutes?
I did.
You did.
All right. Anybody make a motion to approve the minutes with the correction that Barry was actually present, but just a little bit late.
So moved.
I'll second.
Second? All right. Who's taking notes?
Oh,
I guess I am.
in case you're wondering, you are.
Okay, if we could, I'd like to just defer to the land planning a little bit later. Scott would have more information on that, unless anybody, Chris, would you have more information on that?
I think he sent around to you all the selected
Yes.
entity.
Yep.
There were 3 companies, so to speak, that bid on or put in their proposals on this. And we've ended up going with Pioneer Valley Planning Commission with a partnership with Dodson and Flickner. So Pioneer Valley Planning will be the lead with a guy named Ken Comia that we've worked with quite a bit on our open space, well, I think on the open space one, but mostly on the master plan update a couple of years ago. And so he's one of the lead planners at Pioneer Valley Planning. And then this other group, the Dodson and Flickner, I believe they are more the, I don't know, kind of the whole, landscape architect kind of firm. But anyway, they decided there was a 3-person committee that scored them, Stephen, Randall, and Scott, and scored the proposals, and that's what they came up with. Even though they were more expensive than the other 2, they felt that their proposal was a lot stronger, I think, and more detailed and qualified people to carry it out. So they were genuinely, I guess they were a little bit surprised because they thought they might go with somebody else, but that turned out to be better than what they thought. So, as far as I know, they're still they're chit-chatting about it, but the contract hasn't been signed yet. But they've confirmed. Well, they've confirmed that Ken Camilla will be the lead. That was the condition that Select Board put on the approval of it. Was that we wanted to be sure that Ken was the lead from PVPC and not somebody else. That they didn't substitute somebody else out. So he is. That's been confirmed. So we should be able to get the contract signed in a few days, I would hope.
Is there a time frame for completion?
Scott would know better than I. I'm thinking with the tasks that they laid out, they put in a large number of hours. If you actually look at that, the number of hours for each of the tasks, and there's a significant amount of community engagement in there. I think we were talking maybe 4 months, 3 months, 3 to 4 months, I'm gonna guess.
Okay.
That's kind of the idea at this point.
Dodson and Flinker.
Flinker? Oh, sorry. Oh, well, close enough.
So-
Anyway,
so Chris,
Scott emailed it around to all of you.
There are no preconceived notions of what it could look like. It's pretty open.
It's pretty open, although Stephen, with all his attendance at various meetings, he's put out a questionnaire, which I know open space is filled out, housing is filled out.
I think is working on it.
Concom may be working on it too, and then they'll have the feasibility study from senior center as well as ours to work from. So no, I mean, it's an open slate, so wherever anybody thought they might want to go, I mean, nothing's been decided.
The only thing I didn't see mentioned is commercial space, whether they're gonna consider, because I know that's been talked about.
Part of that's in the 40R district, overlay district, so that's part of what will come in there, so that's part of what we discussed, I'm sure, in that part. But the, you know, we've had an inkling of, 5 acres here and there. Cemetery Commission actually came to us at Select Board, they want 2 acres, so that was a new wrinkle. So everybody's got their desires, and so now it'll be the choice of the, or not the choice, the task of the land use planner to kind of get everybody together, whether we do it in, individual groups like this, or how we do it, I don't know, that'll be up to them. But Stephen had taken the lead just to get some first thoughts done on paper so we could get a head start before the land use planner came on, so I think that will be happening, so. It's all kind of up in the air in terms of where we would go on the actual property, who would go where, yeah.
All right. Any more questions or concerns or comments about that?
That's all I know at this point.
All right.
Scott can maybe add to it when he comes.
Sure, we'll ask him. The next is the HKT report and revision update. Christina, would you like to make reference to that with the corrections and so forth?
Well,
that were submitted?
I didn't bring that, but I did send it around. Did I send? Yes, I did
Yes.
send it around. And so they made the requested revisions and changed the name from final to feasibility report. So as far as, Chief has been working on the task 7, so as far as I know, that's the only thing that will still be added to it.
Okay.
I have an idea. By the way, task 7, your draft looks great. I think
Thank
says
you.
what we needed to say. I don't know if that's further on the agenda.
It's next, but
Oh, okay.
I can't take all the credit. Christina helped me out.
Well, good. Thank you. But I also wonder what everybody thinks about having like a preamble about how this committee in its various iterations has tried to get not only the right stuff for our public safety professionals and everything else, but emphasize that cost was so important to us, and that we, especially you and Chief Fasoli, went above and beyond to try to think of ways to make it as cost effective as possible. I just think that would be a helpful preamble to it. It's not going to be their words, because it's not. It's a preface, I've just thrown that out as an idea. And I'm thinking of posterity. I'm thinking of as time goes on, somebody pulls out this report, and then, it's sort of, and I think we talked last time about, does this committee want to say anything? It still occurs to me that it wouldn't be a bad idea to have some kind of statements. I don't know what everybody else thinks.
Well, why don't we get into it when we get to that topic and do that, because you've got to.
Task 7?
You want to probably go through what you've
Well,
actually.
no, more than
done.
task 7. I'm talking about a preface. to
A
the-
preface, so it's.
Oh, I see, I thought you meant to say.
Do you mean a preface to the actual
Yeah,
feasibility study
Yes, yeah.
by the committee? Like
Or
a
the
preamble?
chairs, maybe together the chairs.
There could be a page as a preface.
Some
in the
paragraphs.
report.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea. I'm sorry, I thought you meant task 7.
Nope, I didn't mean task 7.
That'd
So-
be good to reinforce the whole concept of the fact that we are trying to be mindful of that.
Right. It's the kind of thing that at town meeting, when people stand up and say, I support this and here's why, that it's kind of reflective of what the message we want to be sent out in writing. Not everybody goes to town meeting, we know that. But they're going to vote ultimately, and so it's going to be on the website, and anyway, that's the proposal to consider.
So you're thinking that would be integrated right in at the beginning of the feasibility
Yeah.
study?
So like before the table of contents or whatever.
Exactly.
So
whatever.
preface or
Yeah.
introduction?
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
All right. Is that something that we need to vote on, or? No? All right.
Do you need a motion?
Sure.
I move that our co-chairs create a preface to talk about the value of a new public safety building in general, and in general, comment about the goals of the entire committee.
And you mentioned something about our efforts to cost saving.
And the goals, which would include as cost savings and not anything extra. Those are my words.
I'll second that.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Reggie, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
So that would be a page to be included along with the page on task 7 or pages
So,
on task 7.
right, so that would be, like you said, a preamble to it.
Yeah, and then whenever we do this revised footprint, that would be a swap out page, or is that, would we have the old footprint and the new future footprint?
That I don't know
Okay.
how we, I think, well, we have to discuss the, actually, it's not on here, relative to our reductions and having them do another footprint. Maybe we can talk about that at the end of the meeting.
Did I not put anything in regarding HKT and the contract?
Oh, yes, you did, revision update, yes. I thought you meant revision of the actual, yeah, but that would work, that falls under this as well. So, Krista, you were referring to our reduction of our plans.
Right, yeah.
So we would like, so what you're saying is to have the plan reduction in the new feasibility study?
Well, I'm
Or
asking,
the
I guess,
final
I would think so.
Okay.
But, do we have the, kind of tying up what Cindy's saying, here's the original one we came up with, but
Mhm.
based on that, we
Right.
really felt it was important to go back and ask for some revisions, and therefore here is the one we now want to present to town,
Okay.
Plan B is
Yeah.
whatever the one that we want to present to the voters or something like that.
Yeah.
No, I guess I was tying it together with the idea of the report, that quote unquote, whether it's not quite final yet, I mean, given that we would have to insert these 3 or 4 pages,
Right.
and then from HKT's point of view, they would consider it final, I suppose,
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
What you mean, okay, so,
Right now, you said it wasn't considered a final report, right?
well, there was objection to calling it a final report because there might be revisions.
Yeah.
So they just changed the name of
Yeah,
it.
okay.
But this is a final report of their current contract. Anything that is beyond this is a new contract.
Mhm.
So I don't know how the new information will be incorporated.
Could be an addendum, maybe to the report.
But what we were reading and approving is the report from the contract that they are completing.
Okay.
So, yeah, that will need to be determined once we get the report from Scott about where it stands with HKT.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, okay, that's a good point. So to finalize where we currently are with them, without the reduction, the addition would be, including that task 7, page or 2, whatever that is, and this new preface, and then that would be.
Well,
ending
that completes their
Yeah, no, I agree.
current
Yeah, no,
contract.
that's good point. So then we can figure out, I mean, I would hesitate to have 2 separate documents, so my thought would be to have an addendum or something after this current report.
Perhaps in the preamble, we can say that, we reduced the floor plan in the preamble, saying because of our reason, and then somehow see addendum or attached, document.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think that's a great idea. Anything more on that? All right. Task 7. I sent it out a little bit late today. Did anybody get a chance to read it? If not, I have copies of it here. This is what I was asked to write up something on it. And
I read it.
I did. And over the weekend, I sent it to Christina, and Christina made some very valid remarks for me to put in there, and this is what we're at right now.
Question or two, just to get discussion going?
Oh, yeah, no, I thought you were still reading it, yep.
Okay, I just finished, yeah. No, first of all, thanks for taking the lead on this. I think this is exactly what we need, is something like this for that task 7. So you mentioned the comparison chart here, so there will be that chart that has Granby, Lee, and Hadley.
It's
as part of
in the
this?
study, it's actually in the
Okay.
study. I think that's why we had this, so we could describe what it's for.
Okay. The only thing that strikes me, honestly, is that right after Hadley, Granby, and Lee there, the number of employees, emergency vehicles, feature of current facilities, and then it seems like we repeat those things a couple of different times.
Mhm.
So we might, the two sentences that follow Granby, Hadley, and Lee, they might be collapsed, because you're essentially saying that same litany
Yeah.
of things, population, number of employees, emergency vehicles, features of current facilities. You kind of say it again in that last sentence there, and then it comes
Mhm.
back a third time in that
All right.
third paragraph.
So you tell
I
me
think that's a
what,
little bit redundant.
all right, so you tell me what you'd like to,
I don't know what, put me on the spot.
I think one part of the second sentence that's helpful is it talks about other operational components, both mandated and necessary.
Mhm.
'Cause I do
Yes.
think it's important, and I was thinking about when Cindy was talking about
Yeah.
the preamble, that we reinforce the fact that a lot of these things, we don't have the choice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We're required to have the energy efficiency and everything else,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because then it won't look like, because people will wonder.
right, right.
I mean, I like that, so the last sentence in the second paragraph, I think that is an important sentence. That's a real full sentence with lots of stuff in it. I guess maybe the one above, so,
I have a proposal.
well, I was just gonna say, included the towns of Granby, Hadley, and Lee. As indicated in the comparison chart, period. And then going to that last, I don't know
Yeah.
if that cuts out.
I
Too much,
agree
but-
with that. There's something in the first of the last two sentences that you don't say in the last sentence, so you could just integrate municipalities' population, required number of emergency vehicles.
You got that down in the last one.
Oh, yeah, we got that twice. Okay, great. We don't even need features of current facilities. I don't.
No, 'cause it's already there.
It's there again, it's
Well,
repeated.
Well, I think it's further down. It's down in the geographical features in the
Oh.
third paragraph as well.
Okay. Well, you could take out
So-
the whole second, the whole sentence that ends, that starts after Lee, couldn't you?
Yeah, and all I was suggesting, Cindy, was just say, just because you referred to the comparison chart, you could just say, these Western Mass communities included the towns of Granby, Hadley, and Lee, as noted in the comparison chart, or something.
Or
And then-
you could just
and
keep
stop it there.
the period there and use the first couple of words, this comparison chart
Demonstrates,
demonstrates
correct.
and suggests that a public
That would be
safety.
fine too.
That's
Yep.
good.
It's just a little bit
Oh, you guys-
wordy in the middle there.
I'll-
Tell me what you want to write.
Yeah. No, I like that one better.
I'll get that done.
Yeah.
Okay, you got it?
That looks better,
All
I
right.
think, yeah. This comparison chart demonstrates and suggests whatever, their public safety size and features. Yeah, I like that better. It was just a little bit redundant there, I thought. Now, were you planning to add more to this, or was this kind of it?
This is the draft, it's an open document. so-
So I think there's another consideration here that should probably be one sentence. Why didn't we choose Williamsburg or West Hampton? Because people know those communities, and in the last not very many years, they've built new facilities. And I know that there's a reason, but I think people are going to say, why'd you pick Granby, Hadley, and Lee? That's what's going to come out.
I think it's demonstrated just by the fact that we articulated population.
Okay.
We
I just hope that that isn't something that should be doubly reinforced. Do you know what I'm saying? West Hampton and Williamsburg have a different
it's,
population.
again, this is it's an
Yeah,
open
just throwing
document.
that
It's
out.
whatever the committee wants,
Yeah.
you know?
I don't know.
I was up at the October pumpkin roll thing up at West Hampton yesterday, and there were a lot of Southampton people up there, and that was right up the hill from the building, so just wonder if,
Well,
we
it
didn't
could-
choose communities that didn't match these criteria. Something like that. Just a
Although
suggestion.
neighboring communities, a couple of neighboring communities have recently
Mhm.
built new facilities. These were not, however, that
That's
sentence.
exactly right.
They were, well, something along that line.
They were not deemed to be comparable.
Yeah,
Right, I
they're
mean,
not
they were unique to their particular situation
That's
and are
right.
not easily, transferable to Southampton or something like that.
yeah.
Just
That's
something
my
along that line
suggestion,
would
yeah.
be not a bad idea, just a sentence like that. Just to refer to them so people don't think we forgot
Correct.
those two, that's probably a good idea. Good.
Can you say, rather than just give, and as well as others? I'm afraid if we start eliminating, we have to eliminate everything that we don't mention.
Well, I wouldn't mention West Hampton or Williamsburg. I would just say, kind of what Christina said about
Neighboring
towns.
there were neighboring towns that have
Recently.
newer buildings, but they didn't really match what Southampton,
Yeah.
as closely as Granby, Hadley, and
Well,
Lee.
they were
I
particularly.
think that's why I put the sentence, the committee chose comparison of communities of similar population, demographics,
Yep.
and infrastructure.
Mhm.
That
It
that
does
would-
say it.
why?
It's not-
Yeah.
yeah.
And maybe just after that, but let's work on that.
Yeah.
The sentence about,
Yeah.
although neighboring towns,
Yeah.
just to double reinforce it,
Yeah.
we'll just.
I think you can build on that, the notion of the uniqueness, that really that they were built to the uniqueness and the specificity of those towns' needs, which
Well,
Are
they
different.
really different.
Right.
Well,
The one thing that I'm not thinking here is that famous word of functionality, which I think I.
It is.
Where? I missed it. Where about?
functional. First
Oh, functional
paragraph.
public safety
Yep.
building complex.
Adequate and functional public safety building
Okay.
complex.
Okay.
Looks good.
I love your example at the very end, with limited fire hydrants in combination with thousands of forest.
Mhm.
Is it forestry acreage or forested acreage?
Oh,
Either way, I
forested,
suppose.
forested,
Forested.
I think.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
great.
All right, you have the draft that's going to get corrected, right? Christina, are you making the notes? Do you want to make that?
Yes, I
notation?
have to find that. though.
It's going to be the last sentence of the the document.
Yes.
Anything else?
And I have to say that I just made a couple of changes. The chief bore the brunt of this. Thank you, chief.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
great.
You're welcome.
Good job.
Yeah, no, really.
All right, with those corrections, are we Anybody want to make a motion to submit that to HKT with those corrections?
So moved.
Second.
All right,
So Barry and Charlie?
all in favor?
Aye.
I know, that was a little too fast for you.
No, that's good. No, that's good. Scott, while you're here, welcome.
Oh, you're here.
Could you just give us a little bit of an update with HKT and your conversations with them relative to our future plans?
So I had a couple of conversations with Janet and Amy at HKT, mostly just getting a little bit more at their $55,000 fee. They were pretty set in the $55,000 because the way that they explained it to me again was, they're really starting from the scratch. They don't just put everything into a computer program. They really have to focus on drawing everything out. So it will take a significant amount of time. Also with the $55,000, it does give a little bit of flexibility for any type of revisions or anything that the committee wants. So, more than likely it won't be the first pass. So there might be some changes once everyone actually sees the next design. But with that, I'd probably, want to go forward with that. I could submit a application for some remaining ARP money for next week's select board meeting to make up the $24,000 difference. And then we could go forward with that.
Any discussion on that?
So you're basically saying that they kind of got used to us, that we were going to ask for extra or want revisions, and they're aware of that, and there isn't going to be any extra charge if we decide we want some kind of edits or changes.
Right. I mean, if we're really lucky and everything is perfect the first pass, and I think there might be some flexibility, but I think there will be some revisions, I think, and they'll have to spend some extra time.
Did they mention how much time it might take to do this?
They are currently have a few other projects that they're wrapping up, but they should be able to get it done in a couple months. So time frame, the best case scenario is around 8 weeks. More realistic, 8 to 10 weeks.
That gonna work?
That will run before the first of the year, for sure.
The only thing is, during the holiday season, they have, the
Yeah.
staff members taking some vacation. That's why it's going to spread it out a little bit more.
So the new cost is 55 then for the.
The original quote.
Mark Darnold, you weren't here at the last meeting when this was discussed. Do you have any comments?
No, I'm not seeing the actual scope that HKT is proposing to do. And then you said they're going to essentially revise the footprint, and
Yeah.
and what is their final product going to be? Is it going to be a final report number 2? I'm not sure exactly what they're going to give us as a final product for this. Is it just going to be an analysis and say, here's a approximate footprint with an approximate price?
No, it'll be a amendment to the original
Okay.
feasibility study, and they're gonna still do all the drawings, all the footprints, the 3D renderings, things like that. So.
They wrote a schedule with the cost for each component of it. Scott can probably, didn't that go out to everybody?
It did. Scott, will that include an amended price too?
Cost?
Cost rather, amended cost?
So the modifications to the final report is a little under $5,000.
Okay, I meant cost of the final building,
Of
the
the
cost of the
building.
building, the project, the cost of the.
Oh,
estimated cost.
yeah, that does include a cost estimate.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's also,
Okay.
most of the money is the $30,000 for design, and then the cost estimate is about $15,000.
Okay,
So,
all right.
and there's not much they can do about that because that's a third party.
Okay.
Would it be useful for you to see that?
You could, want to project that?
Mhm.
So we just refresh all our minds on that. So we have, are we, I don't know if you did you work on our report?
Let's hope I don't go over.
Your mind, I don't know.
I can do it, I can do
I
it.
wasn't sure what we were spending on there, so I would check with Bradley.
I can do it.
Yeah. Because that would be clear what money we really have gotten out.
Is there something we said?
So,
Yeah, 'cause that would just, talk about, what the latest
yes,
changes are, and then how much we've actually spent and how much we
Yeah.
have left. Then we'd have a clear idea.
yes, I'll look at
So,
So Scott was trying to bring down the conceptual design fee.
task number 3.
Yeah, that's what he was hoping to be able to persuade HKT to diminish somewhat.
So on task 1 though, Scott, I mean, both chiefs have sat down now, right? And I forget, with somebody or just yourselves, and knocked down certain space areas, right? And said, reduce this, don't need this, whatever. So what are they doing with the space needs assessment? We've done the work.
They're gonna need a little bit more technical discussions with the chiefs before they move forward with that. It's good. It's a good start just to do like, basic revision, but, they're really gonna have to, drill it down a little bit more than that.
It is high, given how much we paid them already.
This is basically a new feasibility study, that's why it costs so much.
Any questions or comments on the document? What about that?
Would we have them for an extra public meeting? Or does the,
That's an extra seven.
Yeah, that's the.
I know, but does the current contract, didn't that include something else at town meeting, which we didn't use them for? Could that be part of the special town meeting or something?
Yeah, we can ask them to carry it over, yeah.
I mean, I think there was something, that, in our current contract that
Right, where they had to be,
feels like we ought
they
to
agreed
get
to
that much out of it.
another presentation.
Yeah, feels like we ought to get that out of there, at least.
Yeah, they've only done one, right? At the
Yes.
special presentation.
Right.
Yes.
It was a special presentation, it was a
It was the public forum.
public forum, correct, right. But I think we had kind of planned on the town meeting in that original
Yes,
contract.
it is in the contract that they would be there.
So if we could get them to honor that part, then this would be a little bit, I mean, it's a chunk, but we wouldn't have to use this particular 7,000. We've got it built in already, maybe.
Right.
We just have to be sure that we haven't paid them everything on the current contract. So, no.
There's option which Singapore is hourly not to exceed, which, puts a burden on them. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. If they walk up in front of concept design, was theirs easier, they got it, in a lot less time. But that's an option that they could use.
That's a good idea.
Would you explain that a little, please?
Yeah, then you give a price, I'll do this project for $20,000, but I'll charge you my hourly rate, but I won't go over the $20,000. So it might come in under my guesstimated price. If something comes out to be easier than I thought it was.
So you're saying that Scott could go back to them and give them a not to exceed price? And
They'd be willing to do an hourly not to exceed contract.
And then if they don't finish, they'll get to a certain point and then they'll have to stop.
Yes, well, it's no different than if they had a total lump sum. Well, I guess, it's a little bit of burden on us. If they put in twice as many hours, we'll have to hold this contract amount. So it's a two-edged sword, it's a different way of approaching things.
Yeah.
It just seems like it seems to me it should be a little easier second time around. Again, I can't say that the fee's too high, I'm not an expert on it, but it just seems like trying to figure out a way to. They came up with these figures, and they, having done this before, you throw a dart at how many hours you think it's going to take, and then I usually added 10 or 20% to make sure I was safe, and that was the number that I projected out. And
Did they go into hours on that, Scott, by these tasks? I mean, it seems to be like what Mark is talking about, could be like task 3 there, that, whatever that was, conceptual design. Not to exceed, could be based on actual hours, but not to exceed $31,000 or something. So if, like you say, if it wasn't as complicated and they were, they only needed $22,000, then why would we pay 31?
Right, right.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a way to just focus on task 3 in particular.
Well, why not for the whole thing?
Well, I don't know if they can control their engineer part, their cost estimator person.
No, they couldn't, they can't control them, but it's possible that theirs would come in lower too.
I think if time's of the essence right now, I would just move forward with the quote. If we have to lose a couple weeks or a month, that's going to set us back.
I agree with
Just
Scott.
an idea to throw out there. I've seen it done that way. But, again, it's a two-edged sword. If we hold that the contract is written and they wind up putting in, let's say, put in 3 times the number of hours, they will still have to complete the project at that agreed upon price. So.
Well, they have been thorough. And I think it was you who commented that they went above and beyond in the original. So it's likely they'll do a thorough job with this as
I'll
well.
take a look at it. I'm just thinking of the concept of possible ways to reduce it.
Yeah, well, it is high.
Yeah, well, I think as long as we could throw in, I'd like to be able to do that, but I'm skeptical about, causing a delay. So I think that's probably not in our favor to try and insist on that, but to the extent that these town meeting or special town meeting is included in the current contract, I think I want to see that put in the addendum contract, that part is carried in. So with that, do we want a motion to go ahead, or what are we doing?
Make a motion to have Scott seek the fundings from ARPA, and if we had adequate funding, go forward with the contract. Is that,
Okay, I'll move.
all right? Anybody second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye. With hesitation.
Would you want to reopen it? Or do you have hesitation?
No, as I said the last time, I'm struggling with spending another large chunk of money for what I see will be some reduction in cost, but I still kind of wonder if the architect could actually do this work. That would be a part of the architect's work to scale it down. I don't know, I'm fearful that we're going to be ending up paying the same amount for a smaller building. I get the argument for demonstrating and seeing how much we can take it down, but I'm just reluctant because, I tend not to spend money that I don't have, and I think it's a lot of money.
So what you're saying is we have to hire an architect anyway, and then we just present to whomever the architectural firm
Task
is.
them to take
smaller
it down.
footprint.
But that doesn't get it through town meeting.
Right.
I understand that, but it is another 60 grand.
Hmm.
And I don't know enough about this process, and Mark is the one who knows most, I think.
If I'm understanding this, once they establish this report, our next step is to go to town meeting for engineering, design, and architect. And at that point, we establish what our maximum is on paying to build this complex. So even if they came in, and we'll just use a number, said it's 35 million, that doesn't leave us without the capability of saying, no, we can't go over 30 million, just to use numbers. And that would fall on the architect and the engineer to actually make the nuts and bolts layout within that budget. But we need to get past this so we can get to town meeting, so we have something to present.
Right. I understand that, but it's a big bill to pay
Oh,
to send it through.
you and me are
town
on the same page when it comes to that. I'm very, very apprehensive about asking the town for that many millions of dollars.
Right. If, 38 versus 32 is going to make a difference, I don't know, I can't say. So as I say, I have chosen to give an aye to that motion.
Okay. All right.
Passed unanimously.
So, any more discussion on the updated contract? Any other questions for Scott? So we move on? All right. The outreach and brochure mailing, that should be out in the mail, should be reaching everybody's mailbox, estimated around November 1st or 2nd. Some of the setbacks were, the mailing lists need to be altered a little bit that we were given, and so they now have them amended, and they're amending them as well. I will tell you this, just so people know that Valley Marketing, in particular John Richards, has been very generous with his time relative to this. I think he doesn't outright say it, but I think he's giving a lot of his own efforts to help out with this, and I just want people to recognize that.
Well, maybe when they've gone out, we can write a thank
Yes.
you.
But that should, he said, my last conversation with him was that it should be out in the mail by November 1st or 2nd. He said that all the mailings for the election are holding things back a little bit as well. So the companies are very busy with mailings. He outsources the mailing. Anything else on outreach?
Well, the question is, what else are we gonna do to pass the vote? What else are we doing?
We did, in the last meeting, suggest that we would try to think about the public forum at this meeting. We delayed
Right.
setting a new date for a second public forum.
Yeah.
Push that off, so.
Don't we want to have that once we have this updated?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I think it's a little early still to set an actual date. I think we need material in hand.
Yeah. I mean, likely it'll be January sometime, I would
Yeah,
guess.
and really anything more hinges on the new information that we get from HKT, don't you think?
Right.
We did talk about a second brochure that was more informational about what the time frame of various aspects of this is. And so again, that needs to wait until we have the actual information in hand.
I think when it comes to outreach, it's a lot of this we're really going to have to somehow justify the expense. And it's the cost. It's going to be difficult. It's a lot of money.
Yep.
Well, we need to have the answers to the questions about why costs are so high now.
Yeah, I mean, that might be part of the brochure itself, or whatever we decide to send out is like, some of these things that are mandated now that were not mandated 10 years ago.
Right.
How that affects the cost of what we're doing.
And the escalation of materials costs over the past.
It's too bad we can't do a cost comparison of a new house in this town versus a house 10 years ago. Because when you look at the value of these houses now,
That's right.
I'm just amazed.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's actually a pretty good idea in terms of what it costs to build a house versus what it cost 10 years ago.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
any new house is $600,000
Yeah.
Yeah.
easily.
And 10
Yes.
years ago, you were maybe 200.
Yeah.
That might not be a bad idea, Charlie, because that at least brings it kind of, I mean, even though we're all not in the market to go buy a new house.
But it brings it closer to home.
It brings it to something that you can kind of identify with, rather than this amorphous,
Yeah.
you know, public safety complex. I mean,
Right.
maybe that's, you know, we can figure that out.
People still think it's $100 a square foot to build a house, and it hasn't been that for a long, long
Yeah.
time. Or even $200.
Yeah.
Now it's like
One of the things
$1,000.
what I'm seeing in this town is people are trying to buy older homes instead of build,
Yeah.
because it's easier to update an older house and more cost effective than,
You definitely buy something for $350,000.
Mhm.
Way ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And if we were to do that, I think the energy codes came into effect July 1st, I believe.
Mhm.
Yeah, so any building permits post July 1st have to meet the new energy codes.
yeah. And then there's a revision coming in next year. That's why you're seeing contractors trying to get their building permits as soon as they can get their building permits.
Does that energy code include residential or just commercial?
Residential. That's why there's the impact.
It changes so fast just in our neighborhood, which is all new houses. Depends on when you started. So it's like, oh, 2 years ago, this one was okay, and now you gotta do this, and now brand new ones, you gotta do all this
Well,
stuff.
it's like, we used to think double pane windows was the vogue of doing. Now it's triple pane.
Yeah.
I mean, things will just keep,
Yeah, but that's an idea, I think, to keep on the
So you can
table.
understand.
I do
Yeah,
too.
I do too,
Yeah.
how we approach it, but I think something like that, you know, just facts, I mean, just
There's,
give people some real information.
and the one thing that I've been thinking about too is, I think we're gonna get a lot of questions about, like that pre-engineered Butler building style, for instance, like West Hampton has. And the explanation as to why we got from HKT is a perfectly good explanation, but it's a long and very detailed and scientific explanation, if you will. And I somehow want to be able to articulate in plain language,
Simplify that.
simplify it. Because I think that's going to be a big, I think that's going to be a question.
It is a question already.
Question from day one.
Yes, right.
Although it didn't come up at our last meeting.
Mhm.
We were all ready for it and it didn't
It's
happen.
interesting because the people that are asking don't always
Yeah, well.
they
stand
don't.
up and say what they think.
Or even go to the meeting.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that too, but, yeah.
You love it.
Another question I mentioned this earlier is the question of why don't you just fix up what you've got?
Mhm.
And their answers to that.
Right.
That's right.
Yep.
Get right on that. I'll get right on that.
Yeah.
Want to get some more? We'll get out there with a wheelbarrow. Shouldn't take us long.
Washer will be all
Or
set.
pressure washer, yeah.
Get your duct tape.
Yep.
You're all set.
Just a little asbestos.
Yeah, asbestos is good.
People still don't believe what anybody has to say about why we don't just put it up there on the rock up here, you know, and where we already own land. And, I mean, there's good reasons
We
for
already,
it.
we own this land now, though.
Yeah.
Well, now we do, but, you know, you're right. We
Well, I
own this
think-
land now, but why do we need to build a new one somewhere else?
Owning that land was a major home run.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Scott, before you came, we talked briefly about the land use planner, but I didn't have a, I gave her an update just to, the PVPC is gonna do it and Ken's gonna be the lead on that, but I didn't have a time frame that you had talked about maybe with them.
So, yeah, PVPC is, they partnered up with Dodson and Flinker out of Northampton. They've done a lot of regional projects, you know, the Atkins Corner, downtown Turners Falls, so they're very familiar, and they've done a lot of municipal work as well. So their bid came in, it was the most expensive, but they also are dedicating over close to 700 hours over the next couple of months towards it, so they're actually the more thorough out of all three that we interviewed. For a time frame, I'm getting the contract ready with PVPC this week, and part of that's going to be coordinating with Dobson Flinker and how quickly they can do it, but they understand that it's going to be a very quick turnaround as soon as possible to get it ready for grant season next year. So they understand it's going to be within a couple months.
Mhm. Yeah. And one of the main grants that we try to go after would be this one-stop program, which has an expression of interest due in February. So it's kind of an early marker of a deadline for us to get something in.
Now, you wrote an application for that last year.
We did, didn't get anywhere with it. Yeah, we had, I'd have to go back and look at the feedback on it, but we did put something in, yeah. But that was before we were writing in theory. We had no land.
Right.
We had, we were writing in spatial whatever, because we're in a much better position now to put a grant application together when you can talk in terms of concrete terms. So I'm not surprised we didn't get anywhere with it last year. We just wanted our name to be known. And
But it is the same.
it's the same program, it's a state program, yeah.
Scott, how do they handle the issue with maybe sewer, maybe no sewer?
That should actually be any week now, but PVPC and Dobson Flinker, they're going to do alternative designs as well, so it's going to be based on sewer availability, 40R, things like that. So.
Yeah, the sewer study's getting close to finished also.
Hopefully.
So, but again, I think we're still assuming that both the public safety complex and the senior center will still be based on septic, right?
Mhm.
We're not tying them to this future sewer that may or may not happen. So I think that still has to be the plan. Otherwise, we'll be here till we're beyond old and gray.
It's too far out.
Yeah.
It's too far out to project hooking to a sewer.
The timing.
Yeah.
The timing
We
and
need
the cost.
complex
The cost of
today.
what that's going to be is that these complexes dwarf in terms of what the cost of a sewer system is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd be killing ourselves to try and present everything all at once.
No, it's gonna be on septic for these two buildings.
Yeah.
And, because you can always disconnect that, hook it to a sewer
Yeah,
line.
later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Anything more on outreach or any other questions on the brochure? All right. Schedule second public forum. That's next on the agenda.
I think we just passed over
Yeah.
that again.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's too early for that.
Yeah, you only got December, January.
Yeah. And other business that can't wait until next meeting.
Purchase and sale, did that go through?
Yes. Everything is owned by the town.
There was a notice in the paper last week.
The paper?
The paper,
The
the
newspaper?
property transfers.
I heard about those things in newspapers.
It's there
I believe
in
you.
black and white.
Yep.
That's great.
So we actually do own it now.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, well, and again, thanks to the Boyle family too.
Yeah.
Makes life a lot easier.
Mhm.
So my question, are you gonna have the town go out there once a year and brush hog it so it doesn't?
I'm asking a very generous resident who has a close connection with the land, if there may be a possibility if they could donate some time to do it, depending if their tires get fixed.
Yes, he evidently ran into some piping that I put in the ground.
All right, next meeting.
Mixed family we
You
have
want to
here.
schedule the next meeting? What will be discussed in the next meeting? Let's, right, so at this point, we're still waiting on vote.
Should we set it after we
Hear from
Well, HKT?
everything from HKT, right?
Yeah, that should be quick though.
Okay.
But until we have new data from them,
Oh,
is there any point in meeting?
But at the same time, if we get the land use planner on, we could meet with the land use planner.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I don't know, we'd have to figure out with them what they're envisioning, but,
Right.
at some point there would be a joint meeting of all the different committees, I would assume, that have interest in the land, but I would assume for efficacy's sake that they might want to meet committee by committee and just hash it out. So, I mean, I don't see why we could be first in line to to talk through whatever we're thinking, even though we don't have the final feasibility report, but we're, we're pretty close to it. I mean, I don't know, what do you think? We know the number of acres at least, right? So,
I think minimally we should make a plan for a meeting, and if for some
Yeah.
reason it doesn't appear that the land use planner is available, or for some other reason, we can cancel it. But,
Mhm.
What
you know,
about November 18th, that
That's
Monday?
what I was wondering. The previous week is a holiday weekend,
Right,
so.
and I don't want to get near the election day.
yeah. Yeah, the 11th is Veterans Day, so if we kept it on a Monday, that would be the 18th, so we're basically a month out anyway.
Yeah.
So by then we'd have, other information from HKT as well, but.
Why don't we plan on that? I mean, the co-chairs can cancel if there's nothing to present, but at least if it's posted, we can go forward.
The 18th at 4:30?
Yeah.
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 That's a well-rounded Southampton day. I start off with court in the morning.
So,
All right, so we'll go for that, and motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second? Anybody?
I will say.
yeah.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.